That's all it is. There's two of them. Of these off. You can't see them both.
Because his grandson picked them all up and said, very young age. He did leave a legacy.
You should see it. Yeah. You should see it. I did it. Look at that. I can see myself. No, I can't. This is some other view. I don't know. Oh, there's a delay. That's why. Yeah, it should be going. Yeah.
I got a little grandparents. I'm bringing my grandson.
Okay, so are we all set then? All right, so which one do I leave up? This one here that says live streaming or the other one?
Hesitant. She doesn't know what she wants to. She usually is gone by now. She comes back.
Okay.
But she's going to stay Christmas and Thanksgiving and then give you the first of the year.
Sounds like a winner. Okay. All right, thanks a lot.
Because the restaurant she's in, they've got.
Goodbye.
And they closed down. Eli's home.
All I gotta tell you is, I don't even know how I did it.
Thank you. You know what I'd have been doing, don't you?
That's the most complicated stuff.
In that case, I don't know how I brought my hands together for
There. Imagine it reappeared. I haven't seen this gavel in 2 years. Okay, it's now 6:37. I'm going to bring the Tuesday, November 17th Planning Board meeting of Milton to order. Roll call. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roddy Brown.
Ryan Tebow.
Jonathan? Joseph? And Matt. And I got nobody to replace the 2 empty seats. So first thing on the agenda is going to be a public comment. This is a time of the meeting where anybody from the audience can speak about anything other than what's on the agenda. So do I have anybody who would like to make comment? Not hearing any, I'll close that and move on to the Mighty Joe concept review. Gentlemen.
Good evening, Roy Tilsley, on behalf of Three Ponds Resort, Mighty Joe Campground, it's now called Moody Bears Jellystone Park Camp Resort. I'm an attorney at Bernstein Shore. It's great to see you folks live and in person. I'm getting tired of doing these hearings on the video, so it's nice to be out and about. I'm joined tonight by Dan Forrest of SFC Engineering, as well as George White, the campground manager. We have a conceptual review of a couple of proposals that we have for the campground, trying to get some feedback from the board and the community as to what direction we should go with in terms of future development. Dan also has, I think, some small changes to the amenities package that we got approved less than a year ago, I think, or so, and I'll let Dan present those. By way of background, we're at map 28, lot 4, 218 acres in the low-density residential zone. Of the 218 acres, 148 are in current use. You guys hear me with this? As you all probably know, the campground is currently approved with a 223 campsite campground. When my clients bought the property in 2017, their plans included expanding the campground and reducing the number of acres, which is the majority of the property that is in current use. My clients attempted to expand the campground, were required by the town to try and obtain a special exception to do so. And as you likely know, That special exception was denied a couple of years ago. We've been to court and we lost there as well. By way of background, campgrounds are allowed by special exception in the low-density residential district. The existing campground predates that requirement, so it does not have a special exception. It's a pre-existing non-conforming use. However, the request to expand the campground beyond what's allowed for a pre-existing non-conforming use did require a special exception, and that was denied by the ZBA. My client has been considering its options for future development of the property, and is here today for a conceptual discussion on a couple of those options. Again, to get a sense as to what type of development this board would favor, both as a board and on behalf of the community. The two options we have, and I'll let Dan go into them in more detail. One option is a small expansion of the campground that is to focus on the uses that are allowed in the low-density residential zone, some kind of approval from the ZBA. Lots of zone allows residential uses. The ordinance allowed, and Dan has developed a 8-unit subdivision plan with 3-bedroom duplexes on each of the 8 lots. That's, we believe, is fully compliant with the zoning ordinance and would only require subdivision review. My client prefers the campground expansion. It's in the campground business. It bought the property to operate a campground and would like to expand it and go in that direction. The campground use of the property has been a successful, long-standing, appropriate use for many years. However, if we can't go in that direction, my client needs to think about what its options are, because it really is not inclined to leave 148 acres in current use indefinitely. So we're here to get your feedback as to what you folks think makes sense for this property. I'll let Dan talk about some of the specifics of what we're proposing, and I'll be back and happy to take any questions that you folks have. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Dan Flores with SFC Engineering. I'm the engineer. This plan here shows the proposed expansion. We're at the far western area of the site. The entrance to the campground is right along here. Northeast Pond is here. This expansion will be way over here. Here's Fish Pond and such. So as far over into the west area as possible. There are 223 sites now, so we're looking at 20 new sites, so about 9% increase. We designed it to meet all the zoning ordinance requirements. You can see there's this fish pond here. There are some wetlands that fringe the pond. Also a little small wetland pocket here. We show the 50-foot wetland buffer on the plan, and we've stayed away from all of that. This development, these 20 sites will include a small comfort station
Question
here.
in the back. You can't hear. What's that?
I'm wondering if you could show this so that we can see it as well.
Yeah, can we do that?
If you'd like, you can pull your chairs, or grab a chair and just come off to the side.
Can you see it or?
Give him my copy there, shut up.
Yeah, I've got extra copies.
Is that okay for? Let me just do a quick recap. So Townhouse Road is coming down here. Northeast Pond is here. We have the campground entrance. The development is down here in the west. The existing campground is here. Yeah, so the 20 sites would include a comfort station at this location with a new septic system. We would bring water supply off the existing water service that services the whole campground, bring that in. Electric would come from that area also. You can see for the roadway, we're tying into the existing roadway here, come through, skirt around the wetland area into this. There's about 2,500 linear feet of roadway, of new roadway, about 800 linear feet of upgrades to this existing road/trail. This development here, we're looking at a very minor impact overall. The impervious area stays under 8%, so very, very minor. Go over the residential next. Alright, so just to orient everyone, here's Townhouse Road, Northeast Pond, the campground, and here's the campground entrance today, coming down here. The idea here is to replace the campground entrance with a new 1,000-foot road with cul-de-sac. That allows us to get 8 residential lots, 2 acres each minimum, and allows us to now place the campground frontage on that cul-de-sac. So again, this layout shows a 1,000-foot road. The campground, after the subdivision, would have 325 feet of frontage. Each of the 8 lots is, again, minimum 2 acres with 200 feet of frontage, showing a duplex for each lot, shared driveway, individual septic, individual water. One nice thing with this, currently the campground entrance is here, Lakeside Drive is here also. We're able to move that road 172 feet down to clean up that intersection. I laid this out in order to meet all zoning requirements and all subdivision requirements. So this should be pretty straightforward to get through subdivision review. That's about it.
You wanna do the amenities changes now, Dan, or?
Sure. I'm gonna go over that.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Can we wait before you do that just for a minute?
Sure.
I did wanna talk about one thing that you said about that the minor expansion would be up to the code officer. Well, that's true, that the minor expansion interpretation of what the zoning talks about is up to the code officer because of a couple of reasons. Number one, the language in the zoning ordinance says this: any lawful non-conforming use in existence at the time of passage of this ordinance or at the time of adoption of an amendment of this ordinance may continue unchanged. That's the case here. Minor expansion shall be allowed if the nature and intent of the use is not changed and the expansion does not adversely affect the surrounding area. The first time you came in, that was definitely not a minor expansion. That's why we ruled that you had to get a special exception. That failed before the zoning board, so you don't even have a special exception. You said that. So you are a non-conforming grandfathered use that may continue and may be minorly, that's a Trump term probably, minorly expanded. All right. So what is a minor expansion? You're proposing 20 new campsites. You're not changing the use, so you're meeting that. And you're putting it really far away from all other abutting uses and the lake, and so you probably do not adversely affect the surrounding area. So I go back to the question: is 20 new campsites when you have 223? That's roughly 9-point-something% expansion. Is that a minor expansion? And I think that the code officer, when he changes his hat, definitely agrees with that. I certainly agree with it. But the caveat is, I don't think you'll be able to come back and do incremental minor expansions after that.
Yeah, that's not the intent. I don't disagree. If we get a minor expansion, I'm not sitting in this chair a year from now saying,
I want
now
20 more.
we want 21 more. You know, now, could there be a time
Right.
so many years from now, maybe that makes sense? You know, I'll never say, I can't say never.
So I guess my point on this to the board and to you is this: that really you need to take a real hard look at what really passes muster for a minor expansion. What is it? Is it 9%? Is it 10%, you know, where's the tipping point? I don't know.
But that's,
And you have to look at your master plan for what you wanna do, and still meet the two things in here that just says, hey, minor expansion that doesn't change the use, and that doesn't adversely affect the surrounding area. So, if 20 is all you want, that's fine. I wanna also remind the board, they're presenting this to you for your thoughts on which way they should go. I think that it's pretty clear that what they're proposing on both sides meets zoning. They do have to come to the planning board for both of these, whichever one they do. I'm also gonna remind the board that they could do both. Nothing stops them from doing both. Nothing. That's it, that's all I gotta say. You can.
Okay, you wanna do the amenities first, or do you want us to discuss this?
why don't we have a conceptual discussion?
Okay,
And we, again, we're more interested, this is, I don't have to adapt the answer, we'll answer questions, but we wanna hear what you folks think makes most sense for the property. And then we can take it back to the owners and decide which direction to go in.
okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Brown?
What Bruce was talking about is sometimes called the nose of the camel, in terms of incremental expansion. I would be interested, that if 20 campsites were to be added, that there was a stipulation that the owners and the agent acting for them stipulated that 20 campsite minor addition was the sum total of what could be done as a minor addition.
Okay.
Lest the camel put on weight. The other thing that struck my ear is the definition of a camp resort. Is a camp resort different than a campground? If the camp resort is different than a campground, by definition, defensible definition, then does it have the rights of a campground?
I don't think it's any different, I think the marketing term that you use in 2020 to market a campground, there's nothing that's changing about the use of the campground beyond what we told you folks for a while now, which is campsites, amenities, actually now fewer amenities than what we've had approved, and the amenities are for the users of the campground, they are not open to the public, so, use the term that resort, sure, but it's not changing what it is. It's a campground which contains campsites and facilities for the campers to use.
And if I may then, the last question would be the future use of the end of the cul-de-sac. Whether that will represent a private road access by the planned development, whether the planned development will be available for third-party sales, whether the purchasers will have rights of snowbird occupancy, or what's the opposite of snowbird, summer occupancy, winter rental, whether the properties of the duplexes presented will remain in the ownership of the corporation, whether they will be rented out on a weekly basis, and those things I think move beyond concept, but it gives you a sense of issues that I'm looking at.
Sure.
In terms of total density of use.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So the 20 sites, well, two questions actually. So the 20 sites, are they gonna be tent sites? Are they gonna be camper sites, RV sites?
I think
Park models?
they will be able to accept RVs, which means they could accept park models if that's the direction they went.
Okay.
They're not being built as, they'll have hookups, so they won't be just tent sites.
And then, so why wouldn't you go for both? Camp and subdivision?
I mean, it's not something that we've discussed. You know, I mean, I think the goal right now is to do something more than what we have. And I think, George, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the commitment right now is if we go forward with the 20 campsites, we're putting the subdivision plan in the shelf. Could it ever rear its ugly head again?
Good.
It could, I suppose, but the goal is not to try to do both now. But what we're looking at, and the only reason we put a subdivision plan together is, you know, we haven't been able to expand the campground. It's not realistic to my clients to leave 2/3 of the acreage in current use indefinitely. We prefer to do this small expansion, but if we can't, this is, you know, if it's not something the town it looks favorably on, then we need to look at what our other options are. So there's no intention here, I mean, I had no discussions about trying to do both. And there's no intention here right now.
Joe?
I have a couple of questions. So are the 20 lots, are they gonna have poured pads on each of the 20 sites?
No.
Okay. And then on the possible subdivision, that'll be the lead in, that cul-de-sac's the lead into will be the new lead into the campground,
Correct.
right? So my concern would be if those were rented, I really don't have a concern with it. If they were sold outright to families, my concern would be the heavy traffic flow going through possible residential area. That would be my concern. You know, you have 223 and whatever the percentage turnover is, kids are kids, and they do run into roads, and people pulling campers sometimes don't pay attention as much.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? That would be a concern for me.
thanks.
Any other? John?
Yeah, so will you need a driveway permit from the town road agent?
I would assume so.
I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, so.
So you will need a driveway permit to approve the road. You'll have to upgrade your road to town standards before the town accepts the road. Okay. What's the total lake frontage of your property?
I don't have that in front of me.
1,000 feet?
Yeah.
500
at least-
feet?
No, at least 1,000.
1,000, so. I'm concerned that this may turn into, well, before your pledge not to go beyond this existing 20 campsites, I was concerned that this might become a funnel development for your 218 acres, all funneling into that 1,000 feet of water frontage. And that brings questions to me of impermeability of the soils, given all the camping pads, the roads, the roofs of existing buildings, all that sort of stuff. And I don't know how to reconcile that, but it might be a good process for you to start thinking about a soil bank. So you add up all your impermeable surfaces, and try to dedicate some natural land that you own as a soil bank to offset that, so that you're never decreasing from the total capacity of the land to take care of the soil, the water load we're talking about. Now, maybe NHDES takes care of that, but I'm just thinking as a concept on your part, as a planning board member, whether it's a minor project or a major project, I don't want to see 500 more places, 1,000 more. You know, you've got to have some sort of limit. You can't push that burden on your neighbors that have not developed their property. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Okay. One other question, and this doesn't have anything to do with the project. I was not able to do a site walk of the project, so I just went into Google Maps and looked at the thing with the aerial photography. And a question I have is that out in the north of this project is an excavated area, a gravel pit or something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I couldn't understand what you said.
Okay, so north of this project area,
Yeah,
there's an excavated area, which is sort of like a gravel pit for storage and that kind of thing.
yeah.
Okay, and at the time the Google Maps picture was taken, there are more than 200 cubicles of some sort, blue and white and red. Are those golf carts? Are those dumpsters? Are those portable toilets?
In which area? I'm trying to think, where is it?
Again, you get a plastic Quonset hut, you get a plastic maintenance
Okay.
building, right?
At a
That's the
greenhouse.
Right,
that's right.
Yeah.
So continue going west from that, and you have an excavated area, it used to be a gravel pit or something like that.
Okay,
And there are more than 200 small, about dumpster size, square objects, blue and white and yellow. Are they dumpsters? Are they golf
Do you have that
carts?
picture?
What's that?
Do you have that picture?
No, I didn't take the picture. No.
I don't have anything that, huh? Oh, if they green, that's probably all my firewood. If they green little look like bags,
They could be the bags.
that's my firewood.
So you process firewood there?
Yes, we do. That's
Okay,
all the
good.
firewood. So what happens is, this time of the year, we'll start cutting it, and then we store it to dry,
Yes.
and then we sell it in the season.
Do you harvest the trees off the property? I saw some logs there by the
We
greenhouse.
purchase those.
You
We're
purchase the
local
logs
guys.
in and you process them?
Yep. We have
Okay.
2 wood processors there.
Any problems with the residents on noise abatement or anything like
They
that?
can't hear me, I'm way out back.
Well, I'm
Never
just,
had a complaint, been
I'm-
doing it since,
okay.
for years.
Well, that's good to know, because you know my concern. I hadn't seen that before in other aerial photographs, and it,
You're gonna see it every so often when it becomes that time of
no,
being
that's
full.
fine. My mind is at ease, okay? Firewood is good.
And the reason why we do that is to keep the bug out of the town.
Yeah.
We don't allow people bringing their own firewood.
Well, you're the firewood king of Milton.
Yeah, we have a lot of firewood to go for,
Okay.
we do.
Larry?
Go back to one more. An unspecified development in an unspecified area of Milton used a parcel in its same ownership to provide water access. And just as a conversational gambit, throw it in the air, do you have any plans for what I will call the interpenetration of access to amenities by the purchase of one of these presumptive duplexes?
I don't think we've gotten to the point of thinking about that. I assume what you're suggesting is that someone who bought a duplex might have some rights to access the campground. Yeah, we haven't talked about whether that's something that we want to or could or should offer people. I mean, certainly if we come back, we'll have to have that answer, but, it's not something that's on the drawing board at this point.
New concept, free of charge.
You might be standing there in 6 months quoting you on it, so.
Any more questions or comments? Bruce? You got anything?
No, I mean, I really thought that they're not applicants yet, they're here for just concept review, as you know. I was under the impression they were coming here to ask you not to make a decision, but to kind of tell them which of these 2 proposals you like the most and would like to see come before you in a formal application. If I'm wrong about that,
I think the feedback we have is valuable, but,
I don't think you've heard the
if
answer to that
there's a
question.
strong sense either way, I guess I'd like to know if there's a strong sense that we have maxed out the number of campsites that we should have, and we shouldn't waste our time with more. I'd rather know now than send it into the drawing board, and similarly, if there's a strong sense that, I know it's allowed, but we really hate to see residential development here, I'd like to hear that as well. If it's sort of like both of these are interesting, that's great. If that's the feedback, I'll take it back to the owners and try to figure out what makes the most sense for them.
John?
Mr. Chairman, one more question. So, speaking to that in camping and that sort of things, do you allow day use for a fee? Can I just show up and use your facilities? No. So I've got to be a member of your organization.
You have to be in,
So I've got to be one of the 243 campers.
you have to buy us, you have to rent a site.
Yeah, and relatives and that kind of thing.
Relatives,
Yeah.
feeding,
Well, it isn't just me. It's each campsite is a family unit, correct?
correct.
Okay. So we could talk 1,000 people are going to be there on Memorial Day weekend
We
easily.
only allow a certain amount of people per site.
Oh, okay.
So
5
we cut
people?
that down.
4 people? That's 1,000 people.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
you do have a
Okay.
big crowd. I will not disagree with that whatsoever.
That's good. Well, then my opinion is, I'd rather have the 8 residential units than to add on any more camping facilities, just because the camping density, I think, is becoming excessive for the water body involved. and also for the road traffic as well. So for me, 8 units residential is preferable to more camping.
I'm the
So
opposite.
it's 16 dwelling units, it's not 8.
Yeah, it's 8 lots, 16 dwelling units.
Right.
Oh, there's 2 lots, are they condos or something, or what?
Yeah,
Duplex.
right, duplexes.
Oh, so 2 duplexes per lot? Okay.
One duplex.
One duplex
Two
per
houses.
lot.
Duplex building, which
All
has
right,
2
okay, I
units.
got you, I
Yeah,
got
you got
you.
6 bedrooms per lot.
All right. So 16
Mr.
units.
Chairman, or either Mr. Chairman or Bruce, a technical question for the family, mind. The accessory, use, the new 700, square foot, grandma flat, does each duplex have a right to one?
I don't think so.
I can't hear what he's saying, so.
Well, what he's questioning is, would that duplex each be allowed to put on a accessory, housing for relative, like a,
Granny flat.
Oh,
yeah.
An accessory dwelling unit?
Yeah.
Our apartment type thing.
Yeah, no, I didn't think so, because it's already an apartment, it's,
No.
no.
You can't double dip, Larry.
Anybody got an opinion on what they would like to see?
I'd rather see the campground.
I personally would too.
I'm open to both. That's just me.
What's your thought, Brown, Mr. Brown?
Have we heard the entire presentation?
I'm happy to answer questions, but I don't think we have anything more in terms of the conceptual review. Dan does have some stuff on the updated amenities that he's seeking approval.
Oh, on the amenities, put in sinks for the women's bathroom. I think I saw that. If it is true that the new road would change the traffic pattern to the advantage of established owners along Stevens Road or whatever it is, reduce traffic hazard along that narrow country road, those are good things. The impact of 16 residences of 3 bedrooms each suggests that it would have an impact to the school on a year-round basis, which a campground would not. Impact fees could ameliorate, lessen some of that town cost. If the minor expansion is stipulated as complete to the limits of expansion for the campsites, yes. And that would be a limit to the expansion of uses of the site, irrespective of land banking, and including the retention of current use as buffer.
Okay. What you got for your opinion?
Let's see, I think looking at both these, the additional campsites will have less of an impact on the town, due to some of the reasons Larry was speaking about with the school systems. And also the fact that, I mean, the campground isn't open year round. I know summertime is the most busiest time for the town anyway, but additional housing with duplexes and basically 6 bedrooms per additional dwelling
Yes,
year round is gonna have a fairly large impact on several services in the town. I understand that nobody really knows what the future will bring, but there is somewhat of a concern that this isn't gonna be a repeat every couple of years where we come back and do a minor, expansion. I don't think that would be, very fair for anybody if we don't take that into account, yourself and the residents of the town, so, I think that issue's been brought up several times tonight. If only one was gonna be done, I think I'd prefer to see the expansion of the campsites.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to change my opinion. I've been swayed by the wisdom of my fellow board members, and I'm gonna align myself with the campground expansion and not the residential expansion, for the record.
There you go. But we got two absent ones, so I don't know.
No, that's helpful, thank you, folks, it really is helpful to get your feedback and hear your concerns, and we'll take it back to ownership.
If they retain the rights to those properties and they rent them out, lease them out or whatever that would be a different, aspect of it.
Yep.
I really don't wanna put duplexes there, please. I really don't wanna be involved.
And I understand that, the theory of putting some restrictions on possible expansions. But looking at it both sides, if I had a bunch of land, tied my hands, I'd eventually do something else. So you have to take that into consideration. They have rights too, so.
Thank you, folks, we appreciate the impact, the information, and we'll be back probably one way or another before too long. Hopefully about math.
We'll see about that.
And you wanna do your,
So the next question I believe that the owners' representatives are asking you here is this: they've given you a letter that explains what they wanna do with regard to the amenities that were approved by you, and that some of them have been constructed, some of them are in the
Yeah.
midst of being constructed, but that really they want to make a minor change. And really what they're asking you is, they're asking you to not have to come back to the planning board with an amended site plan, because it doesn't require, they'll explain it to you, but this is really their question. They don't wanna come back to the planning board with an amended site plan, but I think they are obviously offering to put this into the file as the changed plan. So, I think you should hear them out. I'm a little torn on this one. I guess it's up to the board, and they wanna get the feeling of the board on this one, whether they have to come back with a site plan amendment or not. And with that said, you can present your letter.
Yeah, so, Bruce is correct. We're trying to see, do we need to take further action for this change, or submitting the plan would be sufficient? So I'll just run through it, real quick. This is the amenities area that was approved last year by the board. We had a water playground in blue here, an activity pool in blue here. We had a bathhouse in blue in this area, mechanical building for the pumps and such. And then a roadway coming around with some cart parking for campers. They now wanna change this and actually decrease it. So they wanna get rid of the water playground and increase the activity pool slightly and position the activity pool right in the center. So if I come at this as an engineer, I want to know the numbers and all that, but just real basic, we're getting rid of the water playground. Pretty simple. The interesting thing when I did the drainage design with this is I treated that water playground as a black hole for drainage purposes. Any storm water goes into it and it's held and it's taken care of. So by removing that, I'm actually in a position where I need to find out where can I get rid of impervious area. So the red area, the red lines depict areas of the patio removed And the intent here is whatever impervious area has increased by this change is being removed by the red hatch. And the plan that I submitted has some other text on here, so just a couple other small things. A cart path has been added here, that's impervious. Some little tiny cart parking for 8 carts here has been added, so those two also add up to my impervious area increase. The layout you see here, of course I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it's about 100 square foot net decrease. One other item was the bathhouse that we showed on the plan that was approved was in this configuration. That bathhouse included 1,200 square feet of enclosed area and 600 square feet of covered patio. They've now, they're working with an architect to get a new plan together. That changes to, I don't have it, 880 square feet of covered area. So again, went from 1,200 decreases to 880. The patio area, which was here, increases quite a bit. And actually, this is slightly different than the plan I submitted. It's still been changed a little bit. With this layout, the bathhouse is on the patio, so any change to this doesn't impact my drainage. It's all impervious anyway. So again, from just walking up here and explaining it, getting rid of the water playground, the actual bathhouse enclosed area is actually getting smaller. But it is different than what you guys had approved. That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I just want to call the board's attention, jurisdiction, which is section 3 under the site plan review regulations there. Your regulations, really in the end, I'm going to change what I said here. I believe that the representative of the potential applicant here is asking whether they're eligible for site plan determination, which means that they don't have to submit this site plan, but they do have to come in and do a public hearing as they would have to do it for an amended site plan. Let me read it to you. Applicants who may from time to time seek to change or amend the use of or minimally alter or expand existing non-residential or multifamily buildings or sites may apply for site plan determination. The planning board may, after submittal of an executed application for site plan determination, conduct a duly noticed public hearing and grant approval to such applications without benefit of formal site plan review. For any proposal to be eligible for approval, determination the site or building to be modified or expanded once the previously received site plan approval from the planning board. Proposals eligible for approval through site plan determination shall be similar in nature to those involving one or more of the following activities. 1, change of use of an existing building or site from one permitted use to another one. 2, additions to and or renovations of existing structures such that the gross floor area of any existing structure does not increase by more than 10% or 2,000 square feet, whichever is less. 3, proposed site improvements or modifications which alter not more than 15,000 square feet of terrain or the addition of 10 or fewer parking spaces. And 4, other minor site plan proposals which the planning board may elect to consider. Larger site plan revisions and intensification of use shall require formal site plan amendment submission to the board. Here's the way I look at this. And the board really is going to tell you because it's their bailiwick. I feel that this is the avenue for you, but it's no different than if you applied for an amended site plan, because you have to have a public hearing, you have to present the board what you just presented to them already, and whether this is the way to go really is up to the planning board. But I wanted to make sure you understood that this idea of site plan determination has been used in the past, as you're well aware. It was used up the street at the former Lakeside restaurant when it was proposed to be turned into a an RV dealership. And you approved a site plan determination there without benefit of a formal site plan review. So it has been done. In this case, my belief is that if there was something in your regulations that allowed the code officer or the town planner to say this is minor, and you're blessed, go forth, my son, that would be one thing, such as it is in Milton Borough, the other town that I work in, but we don't have that here. You have this, and you have wide latitude, so you can tell the applicant the way you feel about this.
Can I just, jump in? That, what you read, it deals with an expansion. Expansion or change of use.
No, there's all kinds of things that it deals
Right.
with. It deals with, minor changes.
Yep.
It deals with going from one use to another, where both uses are permitted in the zoning district. That was the case where the planning board did that before. That's not the case here. The case here is that you're making a pool a little bit bigger, you're changing the impervious surface to match that, you're increasing the size of the bathhouse a little bit, and you're making some cart paths, and in the end, the impervious surface stays the same so that the erosion control, sedimentation plan, the SWIP, all that stuff doesn't change. I think we all understand that. They're minor changes.
Right, yeah.
What section were you citing to, Bruce?
Pardon?
What section were you citing to?
Yeah, it's section 3. It's
Of
right
this-
on page 1.
Of the site plan regs?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
What's the board's, how do you feel?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I may. My earlier comment was when I asked what the definition of a camp resort is. And if I understand correctly, the water slide feature is, no sarcasm intended, juvenile. That it is an item for children's play use, whereas the pool, it's a patio and whatever the amenities of the bathrooms are, including the sink for the women's half of the bathroom, move it toward a patio resort usage. What I referred to in my comments some meetings back as I get nervous when it begins to sound like an Elizabeth Arden salon. And I think that is what I feel to be the direction of the changes. Given the temper of the community and your rights to those minor changes, I think it is useful for you to have the full confidence that the proper uses and your rights to them have been vetted by a public process. I personally have no objection for, in theory, for the difference between a water slide that does not serve the expected clientele and making the amenities proper to your legal uses.
Brian?
So I guess I'm a little confused, and maybe I just
It's okay.
misunderstood what's going on here. So, the question is, it sounds like originally the thought was, the question was, can we accept this and they move on with their changes? But now it sounds like we don't have the authority to do that, and we would have to go through this process again where it would be more of like it would be an official public hearing on this, and then we could approve it?
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm saying it's your choice. You have wide latitude. The staff here, the code officer and the town planner are not given the authority to do that here in your site plan regs. These regulations are your regulations. They don't belong to anybody else. They belong to the planning board. And I guess what I'm saying is that if you tell the planner and the code officer that these are minor changes, make sure that this happens, record this in the file, that's what we'll do. But, if you tell us that they either have to come to the board with an amended site plan, you're looking at it, and go through the public hearing, or come to the board for site plan determination to determine that these are minor changes and that you don't need to file this plan, but still hold the public hearing, that's what we'll do. So there are three choices here. So I believe these are minor changes, yes. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at the plan and you read the letter.
Joe?
I don't see it as a big change at all, you know, I really don't. I don't think there's a need to not give you guys the authority to call this minor, because to me, it really is very minor.
Matt?
Everything's been discussed before.
Yeah, I think it's a minor change too, and I'm on board with just, letting the, recording this and letting the code enforcement and, town planner manage it.
Tom?
So this is not the public hearing on this item?
No.
Not at all, okay. I'm not sure, I'd like to have a public hearing on this, cause I assume that's what this was already.
No, this is just a conceptual.
It's just a scoping thing of their end, right?
Really, in the end, this is board business.
Yep.
So can I just ask a question?
Sure can.
So do you have a drawing or completed obviously for these changes, or is that still,
You have
have
it?
we,
You didn't get,
We don't have,
we didn't get that, so that's why I'm just asking.
You should have a copy of it.
you know,
Okay, maybe the town got it, but the board members did.
There weren't any on the, I guess I got the only one.
yeah, that could be, cause that, they,
So that goes in, I guess that goes in conjunction with this letter.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. I mean, I assume you had to have that to be able to submit all those numbers, but I didn't
I mean, I did see
see
it,
it, so.
you might wanna pass it around. I mean, it explains what was approved and what they're moving. They're moving that from here to here. They're making that a little bit bigger. They're changing, they're getting rid of those impervious surfaces.
Yes.
So, I think I've been hearing, we have a clarity of detail, and we have the engineering backup, and the paperwork filed will be sufficient for review by any interested party, and sufficient for enforcement.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And those items would not change no matter what the process was to get to them.
Right.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
And any person wanting to hear the details of the discussion about that in a quasi-public hearing setting could listen to this recording.
That's true, but obviously, they don't get to comment. It's because this is not a public hearing. And what's being asked the board to consider is your business, having to do with your site plan review. I just want you to understand that. Did you all have the letter too?
yeah.
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 We all
I get
get,
the
I
letter.
did,
I get it.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable request, and I don't really,
it's gonna be enforced by Bruce and I anyway.
they have all the information here, and it's not really changing anything major from what we've already discussed in the past on this plan, so.
Minor change.
4 large pizzas to 8 small pizzas.
motion to,
Yep.
Motion to
Yep.
give it to powers to be.
I didn't hear.
I don't know how we wanna word that. Make a motion for
To accept the,
changes to
the
the
proposed
approved
changes.
amendments
right,
here,
To be,
as presented in the October 21st, 2020 letter and drawings.
that sounds good. Any second?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Not here. Mr. Brown?
No,
Okay.
Oh, I thought you had one.
No, I,
Not hearing any? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Great, thank you, folks.
Wasn't too painful, George.
Usually much more.
Okay.
Thank you, folks. We'll likely see you soon.
probably,
Have a good evening.
I'd say if we open the deal, they're everywhere.
Okay.
Public comment at some point tonight, or is that?
That public comment was at the beginning of the meeting.
You said, other than an item on the.
Correct. The public hearing is when the public will have to speak, will be able to speak.
When this comes back.
Yeah. When they come back with their application,
All right, so there will be at some point a chance for the public to hear what's been proposed.
right.
And your comment.
See, tonight, we don't know yet what they're gonna go with. That way here, they want to get the feeling of what the board would prefer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This was just concept review. Concept review is in the statute as a very informal step, so that applicants or potential applicants and the board can come to an understanding on what the concept of their development might be, which way the board's leaning to be positive about or negative about, and really that's it.
Okay, next on the agenda is the review and approval of minutes of November 10th meeting.
Make a motion to accept the,
Second.
Discussion? Not hearing any? All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Other business? Nobody's got any other business? Bruce, you got any comments?
Just an update that I'm almost ready to bring you a draft solar ordinance to tweak for Milton at your next meeting. And it's based on a model ordinance that was developed by the Office of Strategic Initiatives in coordination with the Solar Facilities Institute. So many of the defined terms and types of solar facilities and uses are standard definitions. The biggest work for the board is to figure out what types of solar facilities would be permitted in your zoning districts, in the different zoning districts, whether they're permitted, whether they're not permitted, and whether they're permitted if they receive a conditional use permit. So those are the things I think that the board's gonna be focusing on. Planning board meeting in Marlboro, last night on Monday, which was a strange night, only so they could get their November meeting in. They discussed their final draft. There was a push to change some of those definitions, and I strongly pushed back on the planning board members on this, because the reason to keep the definitions the same, the use definitions for solar facilities, is because it's the same definition across the spectrum of other regulations having to do with solar facilities, so we need to keep those the same. I think that a lot of the work's been done. I think you'll be pleased with the ordinance itself. It's unfortunate that it's about 9 pages long. Gonna add 9 pages to your zoning ordinance, but we can't stay in the dark on this one. We really need to have a solar ordinance so that bad things don't happen, and so that good things will happen, and I guess that's the best way that I can put it for you. The ordinance is an ordinance that is controlling, however, it's an ordinance that makes it easy for, the average homeowner to have an accessory solar facility on their roof or in their backyard. So those are good things, and I think it'll be good for us to work on it.
Thank you. What's next? Larry?
Question, does this follow in general outline the wind turbine legislation?
Well, it's similar. Obviously, the issues that might crop up are similar in places, but not all of them. I mean, for instance, solar facilities can produce some kind of glare, and the glare is dangerous when it comes to if you have an airport nearby. And that's where you have to add the thing about the FAA. That's in there. We don't have an airport nearby except for in Rochester.
We do have a flight path for Ps.
Yeah, and that, there is
They come over our house
there's
all
some
the
good
time.
language in there about the fact that all solar uses, with the exception of accessory residential use, the applicant has to reach out to the FAA regional office, and they'll take a look at the plan, and they have to comment to the planning board, so that's in there. The other thing is maybe you don't wanna see it. Maybe you, where you live, up on the ridge, don't wanna see solar facilities, especially the ones on the towers that move back and forth, or the ground mounted units. And there are some good mitigating conditions or controlling things in there about that. The larger, solar uses, you absolutely have to screen them from view, either with berms or with, existing or planted vegetation or fencing, so that's all in there.
You could get a sunflower, just comes out and rotates and goes away.
Naturally, the chair wishes to know that if you paint one arm of the trifoil wind mills black, bird deaths drop by 70%.
Just, that,
Wish it would take out chipmunks.
You send them all to my house.
I will rent you my cat.
okay, now it's,
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Never mind. Bruce, I gotta shut this off.
Oh,
Do I not? I don't know how.
Got my boot.
I think I can take a stab at it here.
I know when that light goes out, nothing's on the screen.
No, it'll,
Right here.
Got a brick.
Are you sure you want to eat
Brings
this tree?
a chipmunk a day, does not eat them, takes them to the back door.
Done, Matt.